Good morning, mob family. How is everyone doing? All right. Let's just start. Welcome to MoB Kaffeeklatsch, episode 136. And I hope you're all doing well today. And we're having a bit of rain over here in New York City. I hope you're all okay where you are and the weather's treating you well. So how's everyone doing today? I'll make sure I can get see the comments. Say hello to everybody. StreamYard's acting a little laggy today. Oh, it's raining. Should have known better. Should have known. All right, here we go. Let's see who's here. Good morning, Connie. Good morning, Heather. Chris Mendoza. Let's see. Jennifer Jones, good morning. Mary Beth, good morning. Let's see who else is here. Paige. Good morning, Paige. Dawn, good morning. Loving the questions, Dawn. I didn't answer the latest ones, but I'll get to them. Let's see. Kenneth, good morning. Who else is here? Second day of rain, Chris. All right. And good morning. Let's see who else is here. Comments. Yes, at least it's 40 here too. So it's really nice. Suma, good morning. Audrey, good morning. I can't think we've caught up to everyone. How is everyone doing today? Let's see. This is the first day of rain, but it's really dreary today. Morning, Aaron. How are you? Or if you watch Key and Peele, Aaron. Not making fun of your name, Aaron. Anthony, good morning. Michelle, good morning. Welcome. As always, I'll say good morning, and you apply that to whatever time zone you're in, because we are truly international, and so I can't adapt the greeting to every time zone. So, I clicked on Tommy's. Let me hide this. That works. Oh yeah, definitely laggy today. It's taking that long. For sure. 73 is nice, Don. Oh, but you had snow recently. That picture you sent me, Don, was insane, because I'm saying that tree looks like a palm tree, and it was about the bottom of it was about a foot of snow. It looked like a foot of snow, but it was probably like 6 inches of snow. It's crazy. Yeah, when it gets really good early morning, Jeanette. When it gets really crazy here with the weather, we get lag and all kinds of technical difficulties. So, but I can't really do this on my phone. I mean, I probably could, but I don't really want to, because the few times that I've tried, it's really spotty. Well, 35 is not bad. We got 40, so that's not too bad. So how's everyone doing? Everyone good? Oh, let's see. Let's start the greetings. Let's say hi to everybody. So I want to shout out to everyone on YouTube. Hello, I see a lot of YouTube things, which is awesome. So to everyone on YouTube, thank you for being here. And if you're on YouTube, don't forget to sign up to the CWW videos that are on the Ben Peaches channel. So sign up for those, subscribe, get the notifications, like. I didn't do one today, but I kind of woke up with my neck kind of funky from training yesterday, so it's feeling a little tight, you know. Rock and roll, John, welcome. So, you know, I was a little out of sorts today, but I'll jump on it again on Monday for sure. A huge shout out to everyone on Instagram. The presence is getting started on Instagram again, so little by little we'll get back into it. And right now, because I'll explain. Right now, I'm at the last part of Saints and Monks. So when I'm in the end of a book, pretty much everything else kind of pauses. So yeah. But on Instagram, we're at Ben Peaches, and on YouTube, we're at Ben Peaches Publishing. So find us there, follow, subscribe. Links will be coming shortly. And you know. Oh, I'm glad you like it. So we can discuss that in a moment, Aaron, because there's some things I want to talk about there. But let me just get through the shout outs real quick. On Zazzle, we're at M&S. The store is M&S. It's EMANDES. Just go to Zazzle.com. You can find us with that store name, and you can get all the swag you need. So we have all these links, and all this stuff is going to be. Yeah, Jeanette, if you want to go back to sleep, it's what, 3 a.m, something like that? Go back to sleep if you need to. But it's great that you dropped in. and said hello. And once those pain meds give you the 1-2 to go back to sleep, go for it. Okay, don't feel bad at all. If you need to just check out, go. Do we have any patrons, baby? No. Okay. Huge shout out to our Patreon members, our patrons, working out a kink. So if you see me doing this, I'm working out a kink. Huge shout out to all our patrons. You guys are amazing, and as always, I want to thank you from from the deepest parts of my heart. And here's a link. Awesome. Put this link up real quick. Gotta bear with us. We have the technical slowdowns. I'm scared to click on the link because it's gonna show up by tomorrow. Okay, there it goes. So thank you so much for being a patron. You guys are amazing, going above and beyond, and I really appreciate what you guys do when you become patrons and when you are just readers. It's just not to diminish that you're a reader of mine, because that's an amazing honor to have you as a reader. So thank you so much. Can we? Yeah. I figured it was something like that, Chris. Can I have the author promo? So, because it snuck up on me in the middle of the night, so I figured I can tell you almost around what time. Chris, can you say? There's no worries, Chris. It happens. You know how it is. Everything's connected. We live that. All right. So yeah, this link for Zazzle, go use it. That's the reference number. Please use that so we can keep track of what's happening. You know. And I really appreciate it. Go get your swag. I have to go get some more swag soon. Okay, AD Starling has a new release, January 31st, Incubus. Let's click on it real quick. So there's two topics we're going to discuss today that I'm kind of interested in hearing your thoughts on, okay? But we'll get to it in a moment. We may not have time to do both, but I do want to touch on it. And maybe we'll have a topic for each episode, whether or not that topic will get. Bye-bye, Jeanette. Get some rest, okay? Let those pain meds do what they're supposed to do. So AD has a new book. There's the link. It's on Amazon. It's out today. So the Incubus, the Bodyguard, a Witch Queen novella. So it's a nice short book. Go grab it. Page everywhere. So go get it, okay? Because what do? We support our indie authors. And one day, our Zazzle store, our M&S store, will have a shirt that says, "We support our indie authors." One day, in the far future, it will happen. I'm glad you realized. You knew right away what I was talking about. The moment I said one day, you started laughing. That was good. I said, and one day, now all I hear is giggling from this side. So yeah, one day it'll happen. Like I have a dream. One day. Okay, so okay. Yeah, Chris. Looking at you. Okay. I won't get to the updates yet, but let's discuss, because my guy, it's already 12:40. What is with this time? It's already 11:40. Jeez. Okay. Previously on MoB TV, we discussed where, and Chris, I want to thank Chris Mendoza for the reminder. Where do characters come from? I have to remember to look at the camera because I'm looking over here, but the camera's over here. So that's because I'm so used to the camera being positioned elsewhere. But where do characters come from? And so I'm going to give you the perspective. I mean, the only perspective I can give you, which is the perspective of an author or writer. There's no definitive one place. There are sayings that, quotes that every character is a reflection of the writer, or on some level that every character is a reflection of the writer. I agree and disagree with it. I think some characters are the antithesis of the writers, and it's deliberate. So whatever the writer feels they are, they deliberately create a character that's the opposite of all of that. And I guess in a sense, when you think about it, it's still a reflection of the writer, just the opposite of the writer. one of the reasons why I say another writer can't finish a particular writer's work, like let's say how Brandon Sanderson finished the Wheel of Time for Robert Jordan, and even though he was able to complete the series, it was never going to be the same as if Robert Jordan wrote it, right? Or let's say Frank Herbert. Like when you step into someone else's world or in their sandbox, as much as you may know that world or you may know the characters, it's never going to be the same as if the originator, the writer, or the first writer, continues the series of the stories. Good morning, Laura. Welcome. And so, because the characters that are formed, the characters that come to life, the characters that are developed, they're an amalgamation, they're a combination of every. This is my opinion. It's not law. It's not the only way it could happen. It's a distillation of that writer, that author, and their life experience. And so, my opinion is that so much has to happen to form an individual, right? Like yesterday, I learned that it's a 1 in, apparently it's 1 in 400 trillion. It's a 1 in 400 trillion chance that we're here, that we're even born. So imagine all the experiences, all the little things that have to happen, the nuances of a life lived that it takes to make a writer, and then that writer to develop these particular characters. It's so many minutiae, these little details. It's really hard. And you could ask any writer, and they'll tell you the same thing. Well, if they're being honest, they will tell you they don't know where their characters come from. It's in them, it's part of them, but they can't point to any one thing and say, my characters come from X part of me. Because that's not how it works. Characters are, it's like a blender. You throw all these ingredients in the blender, right? And individually, all these ingredients are different. Like let's say you're making a smoothie, you throw in grapes and you throw in pears and apples, a little bit of ice, maybe yogurt, right? A good Chobani. I'm on Chobani lately. And you blend it together, the end result is very different from all those ingredients. But without all those ingredients, something is missing from the smoothie. I hope that kind of explains it. We'll get into a little more. Let me just see what the topics are. Jennifer says they're trying that with Robbie Parker Spencer books. That's hard because Spencer's such an iconic character. It's hard because Parker's voice is very unique, and Spencer's. It's like, I would say that's like trying to rewrite Mickey Spillane's characters, or try to bring in someone else to write Dashiell Hammett's characters. It's just hard because it's a very unique character, it's an iconic character, and it's a unique voice. It's very hard. Even if you're the author's son and a friend. Yeah, listen, was it Tolkien's son that tried to do something with the Silmarillion, and it was never the same as Tolkien, because Tolkien is just, that's a very unique voice and a very unique author. I mean, every author is unique, yeah? So it's like, let's see who's and the Nero Wolfe. Again, Nero Wolfe is another character that's just very, you need the author's voice when it comes to things like that. And that's why I didn't read Wheel of Time, but when they brought in Brandon Sanderson and people were like, yay, there was also a big group that was like, this is never going to work. And I can understand both. Like Brandon Sanderson is a great author, and his Mistborn books are fantastic. They're excellent. I think he's written a few other books, but all I read is the Mistborn series. But for him to write Wheel of Time, he's not Robert B. Jordan. That's the thing. He's not Robert Jordan. And I'm thinking of another Robert Jordan. He's not Robert Jordan, and it's not going to work the same, you know. Let's see. How true. It's in your head, your feelings. Yeah. How do you explain a character as an author? I can tell you, as an author, the characters become real people, in the sense that when you write your character, you respond. When you're writing a character, it's not even writing a character. In many cases, it's a conversation. A good story is a conversation, right? And you, as an author, invite your readers to come and partake in this conversation, or at least be a captive audience to this conversation. And the conversation happens between the author and the characters, right? So let's say the author and the characters are all together in a coffee shop. And you get to walk into this coffee shop and overhear the conversations that the author is having with his or her characters. And that's a good story, because when you're reading a book that has you hooked, you even forget that you're reading. You're in the story. You enter into the story. I mean, think about the process of reading. You're reading these. Your eye and brain are registering these symbols on a page or on a device and translating those symbols into images, connecting those images into a coherent thought, a scene, an action, and this is all happening through words. But what happens when you're in a good story with great writing, you forget all those processes are blended into the background, and you step into a story. And when you step into that story, we've all done it. I've sat with a book and started reading, and time just disappears because you're in this story and you're just reading. You want to know what's next. You want to know what's next, and you keep reading. That's what happens. So when you have good characters, so that's one thing about where these characters come from. Another thing about the characters is that many times they will come to you, not always. When it happens, it's great, but it doesn't always happen. But many times they come to you fully formed. And you don't understand, there's no way you know how this happens. Characters will come, and the best characters, again, the caveat of all this is my opinion, right? But the best characters come with flaws. They're not perfect. They're not, excellent at everything they do. They make mistakes. They say the wrong thing. They do the wrong thing. And, they have to have flaws because you want them to be as human as possible. So when you're writing these characters, or when you're writing a story, some characters they just come in and they say, "Here, I'm right here. Let's do this." And some characters need a little bit coaxing, like, "Okay, tell me a little bit more about you. Let's find out more about what you like, more about what you can do, what you can't do, what you won't do." Some characters take stands, and you're trying to make the character just like, this is what the character's gonna do, and the character just looks at you and goes, "No, I don't think I'm gonna be doing that tonight. I don't think that's gonna happen. Sorry. You have to figure this out because I'm not doing this." And you're like, "What are you talking about?" And yes, you have these conversations in your head because you're saying, this character's going to do this. And the character turns around and goes, "No, I'm not going to do that." So there. It's like, oh my God. Another good example, Aaron says, Christopher Tolkien was a great writer in his own right, but he was again not his father. Yeah, that's tough. Those are some big shoes to fill. I have deep dived the works of Tolkien from a young age, right? Yet to such an extent that I knew the very feel of his work. When his son tried to do a pastiche, don't worry, it's close enough to understand what it is. It's a pastiche. It just did not have the feelings. Yeah, how could it? Because understand, Christopher Tolkien may be a great writer, but J.R.R. Tolkien, I'll give you a few examples. So from his friendships with C.S. Lewis and the other authors, to the inkwells, to going to the war, because Tolkien was in the war in World War I, coming back, and a lot of what he wrote in the Lord of the Rings, in the whole trilogy, was a reflection of what he saw and how he felt during the war. So Christopher wasn't in battle. Christopher, from my knowledge, wasn't in battle. And so how could he could try to mimic what his dad wrote, but he couldn't, really do it the same. It's not the same voice. And that's the hard part. Another classic example, another very well-known example is Ian Fleming. Who else could write Bond the way Ian Fleming did? But Ian Fleming was an actual spy. There's so many things about Ian Fleming that still, from my understanding, that are still classified in the UK because of the things that he was involved in. And so when you think about it, oh yeah, Bond makes sense. It makes sense because basically what Ian Fleming was doing was writing what he could write, probably, but wasn't classified, but what he could write and share, and he was making it a story. And basically, the Bond character was something that he created, but It was modeled after, from my understanding, it was modeled after people that Ian Fleming knew. Who else could do that like Fleming did? Yes, you have John Le Carré, who writes amazing spy stories, but it's not the same as Bond. You know, Smiley is not the same as Bond. Right, Dritz is a unique to Salvatore. It's like, no, I don't think anyone else can write that character. Let's see, I can see why SCP and Zendaya and they want. Right, so when Sir Terry Pratchett told Rihanna, once I die, everything that's unpublished, that's unfinished, that's still kind of in existence, I want to destroy. There's a good reason for that, because no one else is going to be able to do. I don't think anyone, again, my opinion, but I don't think anyone can write like Sir Terry Pratchett did, because he took social commentary, turned it on its head, made it funny, but made it interesting, and made you think as he wrote the stories. And so, yeah, Conan Doyle is another one. Who's going to write another Sherlock? Really? And Sherlock is old. The character itself is old. I mean, it's been around for a long time. But as much as Sherlock has been done and redone and remixed and brought back and all of this stuff, it's still not the same as the original. And there's a reason why the original has lasted so long. I mean, look at Agatha Christie and Poirot. He's been around. Agatha Christie, from my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is one of the best-selling authors in history, Agatha Christie. There's a reason why, you know? And the fact that she was actually an accomplished, she knew poisons. Could you imagine being her husband? It's like, here, honey, I made you some tea. And he's like, don't you want to taste it? No, it's all for you. I want you to have the first taste. Yeah, that doesn't sound suspicious at all. But she was a brilliant woman who actually, I think she worked in the War Department. She was very familiar with poisons. So there you go. But to create Poirot, and that's not the only character she wrote, obviously, but to create Poirot, and to this day, they're still doing Poirot, because we watched the movie, I think, a few years ago with Kenneth Branagh as Poirot. Even though for me, David Suchet will always be the best Poirot, but Kenneth Branagh did a passable job as Poirot. So yeah, it's just the way it is. So it's important that authors understand that the characters that they create, though they might be kept alive, it's not the same as when you create a character. It's your character, and you have to give that character the space to grow and the freedom to grow. Let's see. Please take care, because nobody will be able to do. I think Dolly will be able to write Simon and Monty like I did. Yeah, Dorothy Sayers. I mean, I'm not as familiar with Dorothy Sayers' work, but I've heard of her, and yes, yeah. And Doyle did come late to Holmes, and he tried to kill Holmes, and he couldn't. He tried. I mean, he had Holmes fight with Moriarty, Professor Moriarty, and then Holmes fell off a cliff or fell off the falls to his death. And the outcry from his readers was so great that because he had gotten tired of writing Holmes, but the outcry was so great that he had to bring Holmes back. Somehow he had to retcon that although Holmes fell off the edge of the cliff, he didn't really die or whatever the case. And yeah, but he couldn't kill Holmes. And to this day, I don't think anyone can kill Holmes. It just won't happen, because at this point, Holmes, like so many other characters, is part of our collective mythos. So very much like Mary Shelley with Frankenstein, Bram Stoker with Dracula. I gave them a dedication in one of the books because they are the mother and father of urban fantasy, again, to me. And we stand on their shoulders. I mean, to this day, Frankenstein is still being revisited and redone in one way or another. And Dracula, the vampire genre, that's never going to die. I mean, from Bram Stoker's Dracula to Anne Rice giving it a revamp and bringing it back with Interview with Vampire. And then to this day, in Twilight with the sparkly vampires, all this other stuff, no matter how many reworks they have, they still all go back to that source material. It's like one of the reasons reasons why Peter Jackson's rendition of Lord of the Rings or interpretation is widely accepted, but it's still fall short of the actual books. Yeah, Aaron, she's also considered the mother of urban fantasy because yes, science fiction because Dr. Frankenstein had to create the creature, right? The creature Frankenstein. But that's also considered urban fantasy. So in a way, she has dual maternity of the mother of science fiction and the mother of urban fantasy because her story is one of the earliest depicting that kind of character and what happened. So yes. Have I considered writing a book about Dexter? Yes, of course. But Dexter is a tough character to dedicate an entire book to because there's a lot in Dexter's past that if he divulges would be detrimental to the rest of the series. But maybe a short story about how he met her, because he met her as in his responsibilities as the Harbinger. So it kind of makes sense since she's the chooser of the slain. So it would make sense. Not to fan Marine on you. I don't know what that means, not to fan Marine. That's an interesting saying. But there will never be another Peaches. All hellhounds are compared to him. Yeah, me too. Actually, okay, I understand. This is between us here. Hello, Enid. Welcome. I understand that, what is it? Imitation is the greatest sense of flattery. The greatest form of flattery. But I have recently been seeing a lot of hellhounds pop up that look just like Peaches. And it's really weird. Oh, you're a Marine. Well, Semper Fi, and thank you for your service. Unless you're active duty and still, thank you for your service. My sister's Navy. So she'll be tired then. She did her 20, but she's out. So we have military in the family. Let's see. Do you think we're telling the same stories in just in different? Yes, I think in many cases, there's a whole saying that there are only 7 stories in the world and in history, and we're just telling it in different ways. But I think in many cases we're telling a lot of, because if you look, it's a lot of the same stories, just with different characters, different settings, but it's still the same story, just tweaked with certain areas of different, but it's the same story. Del Toro's doing a Frankenstein movie. I think that would be a good idea. Guillermo's really good at those kind of movies, and he recently did a horror type anthology. I think he was the one that collected all the stories. But I like Guillermo del Toro. He does some really good. Pandora. I believe Pandora was one movie he did, one of his early movies that was done really, really well. And thank you for your service, Ken. Yes, I agree. Lucille Ball. Without Lucille Ball, we wouldn't have Star Trek, and Star Trek was I want to say the precursor or the first really, because there was also Lost in Space, and there were a lot of big shows, but Star Trek was really the one that kind of started that sci-fi trend. And without her, she was the one that took a chance on Star Trek and made it happen. Roddenberry. So yes, we have a lot to thank for Lucille Ball for her contributions to the genre of sci-fi, at least in film, for sure. Yeah, Chris, there's a lot of hellhounds lately, and I'm like, oh, that's great because a lot of them, surprisingly, a lot of them look like Peaches. I'm like, okay, I don't have an issue with it, because there's only one Peaches, and Peaches can only be one way, and hellhounds. I don't have the market cornered on hellhounds. Hellhounds have been around forever, and yeah, I think we all have our own interpretations of hellhounds. But it's only ever been one Peaches. And I think the only one. Yeah, Desilu Studios. So when Roddenberry went to, I don't know who the original studio was, but when Roddenberry went to them, they said, "There's no way we can do this show. It's too forward thinking. It's too controversial. It's too whatever." They didn't like it, and Lucille Ball and her husband Desi, and that's where you get Desilu from. They had Desilu Studios, which is their own studio, and they said, we'll do it. And they did 3 years. They did 3 seasons, 3 years. And from those 3 years, here we are, because I was a kid. My God, I would run home on Wednesday nights from playing outside to go watch Star Trek on TV. That's how old I am. So we're talking about, I must have been 4 or 5. And I'd be outside on the stoop, and my dad would tell me, Star Trek is coming. Like, and I would be like, I would run in to go watch Star Trek, right? I don't understand a lot of it, but I like the spaceship and all that stuff. And I used to watch it with my dad. So they took a chance on Star Trek, and they gave us 3 years of Star Trek, and then it went into syndication, and it just kept happening. And then everything that came up after, New Generation, all the movies that happened, except for Section 31. I saw Section 31, and I want to hurt somebody because that is not Star Trek, but that's a whole different subject. All right, let's see. Yeah, Star Trek, Twilight Zone with Rod Serling, who wrote, produced, directed, kind of wore all the hats. Serling, incredible. So yes, let's see. Imitation is sincerely a form of flattery. I really appreciate. Thank you, Karen. I appreciate that. Let's see. You do now. You have a whole. I don't have the whole block on. There's still a lot of hellhounds out there that are pretty awesome. Like from The Omen. I don't know if you guys remember that movie, The Omen. The hellhound that was in that one. Oof, man. Oh, the hellhound in Good Omens was a really good hellhound because he was cute but seriously dangerous. Yeah, let's see. The ones in mind are more wolf or Celtic shaped, and yes, there's only one piece. Yeah, there's only one, really. Oh no, Section 31. Yeah, listen, I pestered my wife Dolly to make sure I could get Paramount Plus so I could watch just to watch Section 31. That's how much I like Michelle Yeoh, and more importantly, she was attached to the Star Trek franchise. Okay, this is my opinion. I'm sure if you love Section 31, more power to you. I was like, I need to strangle somebody because not only is this not a good action movie with Michelle Yeoh, so you're wasting her talent, but it's not a good Star Trek movie. There's nothing really Star Trek here. This is a bad heist movie that I think my 13-year-old can write a better story than this thing, easily. And I was like, what? Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, we didn't pay. We wanted the free thing, so I'll try. I will try it out for a trial. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No, I haven't watched Discovery, and I don't think I'm going to. If Section 31 has anything to do with Discovery or any other Star Trek franchise, I'm staying far away from it because I was telling guys, I'm watching it, I'm looking, I'm giving her the eye, like, and she's like, what's the matter? I'm like, what's the matter? What's the matter? This thing sucks. That's what's the matter. And usually I'm not that blunt. I'll give it a chance. You made it, Richard. I gave it a chance. What was I in? About an hour in? Yeah, I was in. So, I mean, this is one of the sunk cost fallacy things where you spend so much time, you might as well tough it out to the end. I toughed it out to the end. At no point did it get any better for me. So Section 31 was, wow, it bombed. It bombed. And for me, the thing that really motivates me, I'll watch Discovery because I'll give it a chance because it's Star Trek, right? But man, but for me, here's my point, Aaron. The writing was horrendous. I can tolerate a lot of stuff in a series or a movie if the writing is good. I heard Strange New Worlds was excellent, so I haven't seen that though. So I don't have an opinion on it. But the writing in Section 31 was subpar. It was really lackluster, and at many points it made me cringe. I was like, why? What are we doing here? And then the characters felt flat. Here's the thing. You got to the point where you didn't really care what happened in this character. There's a character that bites the dust early. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone who hasn't watched it. But I was like, oh, well, like the character died. It was part of Section 30. It was part of the crew. They got blown away early. I won't say who. But I was left feeling like, well, like, you know what? One less person to worry about. That's okay. So it was like, if I'm feeling that way about the characters, oh my God. Yeah. And honestly, I'll be honest with you, they could have killed everyone else off except Michelle, because I like Michelle's acting. But they could have killed everyone. In fact, at the end of Section 31, everyone could have died. And I would have been like, you know what? That ended well. That was good because they all died and they all went for the cause and they kept the galaxy safe. Yes, good job. That's how I felt about Section 31. I don't recommend it, but that's, again, my opinion, right? All right, Anthony says, often wonder if women or minority-led movies and shows, with few exceptions, suffer from horrible writing and even worse editing. I don't think so, because okay, I'll give you there are plenty of movies and shows that have minority. Okay, same actress, Michelle Yeoh. The series is called Brother's Son. It's on Netflix. I don't know if it's still on there, but it was called Brother's Son. Fantastic writing. You would be surprised, but it was like, oh, wow, this was so good. Like, you're waiting for season 2. It only had one season. It ended the season really well, but you know what? I think we should watch that. I think you'd like it. So yeah, Brother's Son, fantastic writing. Michelle's in it, and so it's not just the actor; it's the writing. All of this, I've always been. It's the writing. Yes, Enid. Section 31 needed more story. Chris says, "Is it easier to write a good character or a bad character? It's easier to write a solid character. It has to be not. So I won't say good or bad. I don't know how you mean good or bad. Like, you mean good like a good person or a bad person? Because what I would say is it's easier to write a 3-dimensional character. If your character is 2-dimensional or flat, they're gonna come across as cliche or cringy. They're gonna come across as unbelievable. And you want to write a character that's believable. You know. Have not watched, but very disappointed because of Michelle Yeoh. Yeah, she needs to choose better projects. If she had any say in that project, that was a mistake. Let's see. Michelle would make a good Reaping Wind. I don't know. She's not dangerous looking enough to be a Reaping Wind. So I don't know who would play a good Michigo. Yeah, it couldn't be her. Plus, she has to be Japanese. Michelle's Chinese, so I would get people who would say the Reaping Wind's supposed to be Japanese. Why is there a Chinese person playing a Japanese character? I would hear it. Yeah, see, Brother's Son was excellent and it's gone. I'm sorry. We'll have to find it somewhere else. But yeah, good morning, Wendy. Welcome. So for me, so to answer Chris's question about writing evil bad guys, even the bad guys are the good guys in their own minds. So when you write the evil or the bad characters with the motivation that what they're in their minds, what they are doing is the right thing, then it gets really interesting because the justifications change. So when they face the antagonist and the antagonist tells them they're wrong, and they come and tell you, no, I'm not wrong. You're just not seeing my point of view because of X, Y, and Z. That's why all these people need to die. All of a sudden, it's like, what? You know, it gets really interesting. Yeah. Go-Go, yes, would be a good Reaping Wind. Yeah. But she uses that, the ball and chain, which is a great weapon, but Michiko would never use that. She'd probably just use her hands. But Go-Go's a great actor. That actress is really good. Yeah. She would be a good Reaping Wind. Let's see, who else? It would have to be a Japanese character, and I'd have to really do research for that. You know? Yeah, when they believe that what they're doing not even necessarily is right, but is the least evil. In other words, the best of evils. If you have to pick something bad, at least what I'm doing is less bad than what other people would do. That's why I have to do what I have to do, and that's why I have to destroy the entire world, because what I'm doing would be the best possible evil. It gives the antagonist a real situation to deal with, you know? Yeah, exactly, Don. When Monty's Monty's great uncle went from bad to good, and then things happen, and it was, you know what was good in that story? I mean, I love writing M&S, all that, but writing Monty when he had to go deal with his great uncle, that was whoa. That was a moment where I was like, oh, I could really write Monty as an evil mage. Like, it would be easy to make Monty go completely dark for a while. And, things could happen. So, but that scene where Monty goes to give his uncle the consequences of his actions, I won't spoil it in case you're not up to that story. But if you're not up to that story by now, shame on you. But when Monty goes to dole out to give the consequences for his actions, that was wow. I think that was excellent because the way how easy it would be for Monty to slip into darkness, which is what Simon sees all the time. He sees like how easy it would be for Monty to go dark, and that's what concerns Simon all the time. Which just says, I think some of my favorite characters of yours are the ones I don't care about, right? Yeah, they're just narcissists. Some of them are, yeah, some of them don't care. You know what comes to mind is Ronan from Division 13 comes to mind when I think of that. I don't want to say Gray because Gray, though he is not necessarily all good, he's not necessarily all bad either. You know, he does have a moral code. It's just that he's seen so much and done so much as a night warden that he's beyond a lot of stuff. Yeah. And Uncle Dex has his moments. Like Dex, again, it's not that he walks a moral gray area, it's that Dex has been a harbinger of death. And so it changes how the character reacts to certain instances. And in the terms of Dex, he sees a much larger picture than any of the other characters because his scope and his perspective is much wider and much larger, much more expansive and much more detailed and networked. You know, Dex doesn't take certain actions, not because he can't, but because he thinks of the ramifications of, if I do this, it's going to piss off that guy, and that guy's going to retaliate and do this, and then that's going to do that, and then I'm going to have to get involved. And so he's thinking 15, 20, like a grandmaster chess player, he's thinking hundreds of steps ahead, where Simon and Monty are thinking about tomorrow. You know, so it's like, you know, whereas with Gray is like, I don't care. Basically, Gray's like, let's just get it done. Yeah, basically, Wendy's like, just get it done. This is what we got to do. This, okay, like in Dustblader. Gray's like, you know what? We're gonna get this done, and you're not gonna throw your life away, but we're gonna get this done. And that's basically Gray's attitude. Dawn says Hades is weird. Hades isn't weird. Hades is what you would call a puppet master. His agenda, he likes to keep it hidden, and he likes to reveal it very slowly and he's very calculated about what he does, when he does it, and how he does it, and with whom. Like giving peaches to Simon was an extremely calculated move that he knows will have ripple effects or dominoes get knocked down because of him taking that action. And it can't blow back on Hades because he's acting through Simon by proxy. And so it's not that he's weird, it's that he gets involved in very specific ways. So I'll give you the example. When the first time Peaches goes XL, one of the first persons to show up is Hades. But why? Why would Hades show up if Peaches goes XL? Because they were in London, and a hellhound running rampant and destroying half of London would reflect badly on Hades because hellhounds would be under his purview. And so he went there to make sure to run damage control. But that shouldn't have affected him, but it does because of other things that he has going on. So that's why he's not weird, but he's always calculated. And everything that he does is calculated. The same way when Monty gave the sword to Hades to hold, and Hades gives the sword to Gray to bond with, that's a very, very calculated move. When you think about the sword that Gray has and how it came from Hades, and it came from Monty, and it came from Ken. So it's this whole succession of people, and then it ended up to Gray, right? And then he says, okay, I'm going to kill this person unless you can salvage her and you can save her and she can work with you. Come on, really? You think he needed to ask Gray permission to kill Coda? No, but he knew that Gray, the way he is, would say, no, I'll take her on as my apprentice. She could be a night warden. Hades knew that. It was a calculated move. He didn't want to kill Coda, but there's a reason why he didn't want to kill Coda. And so now she's being trained to be a night warden, and she's with Gray, the same person who has a sword that Hades gave him, because the sword keeps Gray alive. You got to think about all the calculations. Hades is the ultimate one behind the scenes. In every story, there's a little bit of Hades somewhere, if you think about it. So, yes, weird, I guess, is one way, but really calculated is the way you want to think about Hades. Always go back to, is Hades involved in this somehow? That's what you have to do. Yeah. How much influence did Izanami have on the sword going to be? Not much, because he hadn't bonded to it yet. So yes, it's like beyond chess. It's more, if you can combine a game with chess and Go, the Chinese game of Go, then that would be the game that, and make it 4-dimensional chess and Go. That would be the game that Hades is playing, that no one else is playing, because no one even knows what the board looks like. Yeah, Hades is thinking so many steps ahead. So I mean, so many steps ahead. It's ridiculous. And so that's why you have to see him. And this is why Simon hates dealing with gods, because he knows they all have agendas and he doesn't like being a pawn. But he has to kind of accept his role as what he is now. And the fact that he doesn't like dealing with gods is going to bring him to a serious clash with the god that he's involved with, which is Kali. Yes, 2 aspects of Izanami, correct. Because remember, Ebenso, Izanami, the sword that Gray has is a set. It's not just one sword. It's Dark Spirit, which is what Gray has, and Ebon Soul, which is basically Dark Spirit, if you think about it, because a Dark Spirit is an Ebon Soul, right? So the names are very similar, just they sound different, but they're basically saying the same thing. And so Izanami has appeared in Simon's Blade, but not as to the extent that she has appeared in Gray's Blade. So it's like, whoa. So there's something there too. And the question is, you got to go back, is how did Simon get Ebon Soul? How did Nichigo get Ebon Soul? And now you got to go back to the Blood Hunters and how did they get those blades? Where did those blades come from? What's the history behind those blades? So yeah, it's like, yeah, and then you have Hecate. It's kind of sprinkled in there, connected to Monty. There's a lot of stuff. And don't forget that Hell made a cameo appearance at Ezra's early on, which is where Simon got his flask of his ever-filling flask that we really don't know what's in there that he drinks. So yeah. Who are you asking, Kenneth? So where characters come from, it's hard to say. They come from the deep recesses of our minds. The crybabies are perfect weapon for Monty, and they kind of get a little bit. I can spoil this much. They get a little bit of an upgrade in Saints and Monks, as does Monty. That's about as much as I can say. Oh, Heather. Oh, it's Hecate. It's the goddess Hecate. It's the one she's referring to. Yeah. And so they're there. They're sprinkled. If you're paying attention, you'll see them for sure. All right, let's get to the questions because it's 12:40. I don't want to lose the time. And then we'll get to the next topic. It is funny that he calls them the crybabies. They're called the Sorrows because they wail. They're like a band. There's a reason why his code name. If you read the War Mage, the short story The War Mage, his one of his code names in that op, or his code name in the op, is called Banshee. The reason he's called Banshee because his swords do that wailing thing, and so every time he uses those swords, there's a wailing going on. And it's really, if Monty had to explain, it would be more a keening, which is what a Banshee does. They keen. But Simon just extrapolated that to, the crybabies, because they do that screaming, crying thing. All right, Audrey's questions. We have questions. Goddess of, yes. So much. And there's magic involved with that too, Wendy, for sure. Black dogs, necromancy, which is what the sword, Ebon Soul now has a necrotic aspect to it. Magic and crossroads and so much other stuff. That's so much fun to write. All right, Audrey's question. And thank you for the questions, Audrey and Chris, because the questions make the show even more interesting. Okay, first question for me, Orlando. If you could be a secret agent, what assignment would you want? Any assignment where I would have to be knocked, which is not non-official cover where I could, any assignment like that where I could just blend in. And if I were a secret agent, I don't think I would tell you, would I? I don't know, maybe not. Possible. But yeah, that would be my assignment. Anywhere I could go undercover, non-official cover. Yeah, for sure. I would want one of those. Dolly, what uncool thing were you into that you thought was totally cool?
That's a great question, Audrey. And I've been thinking about it, and I really have no idea.
Because you still think it's cool.
No, because the thing is, you know, with my friends, our stuff was cool to us. So
Yeah.
I don't know what wasn't cool.
But you still think it's cool? I mean, now in retrospect.
But I don't know cool. What's considered?
I have no idea. I'm completely uncool. I'm a geek / nerd.
Right.
So
I mean, it's cool to
everything I did was cool, but
so
wasn't considered cool later on. Geeks / nerds are always on the cutting edge.
Cool. Like,
Yeah, and your friends and where you were.
Having fashion,
Sure.
that's cool.
That's not cool for some people, right? Well, for us, it was
I
like
don't.
D&D was considered way uncool when it first came out because people didn't understand it, and then it became really cool, and it's
Right.
still really cool,
Right.
you know, because it's accepted and it's mainstream. So, is there anything that you did that wasn't mainstream but that's now mainstream? I don't know. Okay. No answer, Audrey. No answer.
Sorry.
She'll think about it. You never know. The things that I do are cool. I still do things that are cool. So,
It was an answer.
yeah, it was an answer. Yeah, it wasn't definitive, but it was an answer. Sure, we'll give it that. But I mean, everything that she does is cool. So by default of her doing it, it becomes cool.
Right.
So that's, you know, D&D was very uncool when I started. Yeah, D&D was the realm of geeks, nerds. Well, nerds, I don't know geeks because geeks is more electronic, but we kind of fell into the same realm. And nerds and really uncool people playing an imaginary game. Oh, you play with your imagination again? An imaginary game of characters going through dungeons. Oh, yeah, it was very uncool. And we didn't care because we were awesome and we got to do crazy, amazing things in D&D. And now everybody loves D&D. Next question. Orlando, what is the most unethical practice in the publishing industry? Wow. Okay. I have two answers here. One is modern and one is a little bit older. The whole concept of royalties to traditionally published authors, they get pennies for their work that they may have spent a year or more creating, and the publishing house takes the lion's share of that and gives the royalties to the authors, which are just like pennies per book. That I find to be unethical. Authors should get paid more for their work. And yes, I get the fact that publishing houses have overheads and have marketing departments, etc., and they have a lot of expenses. But without authors, without writers, publishing houses don't have anything to do. So the lion's share should go to the authors. That's my position. So yeah. The other unethical practice that's just starting up now is AI to write. And Bali and I were discussing this the other day, that using AI to write your stories, to me, seems unethical. But that's my position. I'm sure there are authors out there who will use AI to write and, do well doing that. I think as long as they provide full disclosure and say, listen, I used AI to write this, or I'm using AI as an author, then, people should know what they're getting into. But if you're using AI to write and you're trying to pass it off as you wrote it, I think that's unethical. That's right up there with plagiarism for me. Like taking someone else's story and passing it off as your own. There are authors who do this, who take other people's story, put on a new cover, and change a few things and say, I wrote that story. And it's a lie. They plagiarize the entire book, or they stole a book. Or in what's happening now, if you're keeping track of DeepSeek and all this stuff, it's the AI is transforming things, and so I am positive that there will be authors who use AI to write because you can't avoid it. Some people are going to want to try it and see what it does. And I'm sure the technology will get so good at some point that you won't be able to tell. But I read an AI story and I couldn't really tell if it was what part was AI and what wasn't. But the story itself seemed off. And I think that human aspect is what would be missing, because AI, as far as I know, there's no real artificial intelligence. It's just learned. It's machine learning, but it's not artificial intelligence. You know? Yeah, there you go. That's where Skynet comes from, Anthony, for sure. It starts taking these ideas and say, wait a minute. If we eliminate all humans, we'll save the planet. I'll build a robot that can do that. Yeah, listen, that I find is unethical. If I'm gonna write an AI story, I'm gonna put it way in big word letters in the front. This story was written using AI. That would be the best way to do it. And if you're going to do it, you know. Well, yeah, that's kind of gonna happen. So yeah. So don't. I'd rather not, and I don't ever, you know. Now AI art is a whole different story because there's a lot to be said for art created with AI, and there are things you can do with AI that make some amazing art. But again, it's the same thing. You just have to let people know I made this with AI. And many times you can tell, although sometimes it's getting so good that you can't right now. But yeah, but with art, I think it's a different thing because art requires a different expression of the creative being. And you can be creative using AI with the prompts that you create. So it's different than writing an entire story. I might be splitting hairs, but that's my position. I'm also biased because I'm a writer. Assistive is good, generative is evil. Yeah, there's a big difference there. Yeah. I think in the art world, it's assistive, and in the writing world, it's generative. All right, how do you power through writer's block if it happens? I don't. Okay, I'm gonna make a comment. I still have Chris's questions, although we kind of touched upon them earlier. But I'll make this comment and get a lot of hate from everybody, all the fellow authors out there. I don't believe in writer's block. Writer's block, to me, my opinion. So remember that everything I'm saying is my opinion. So it's not law. It's not written in stone. But writer's block to me is just an expression of fear. That could be different kinds of fear. It could be the fear of success. What if I write this story and it's so good and then I can't replicate that? It could be fear of rejection. What if I write this story and it's so bad that everybody hates it? It could just be fear of expression. What if I write a story and I finally get it out and I have to stop saying I have a book inside me, but it's out there now? So that's where writer's block comes from. Or you write yourself into a corner and now you don't know how to get out and you get stuck. Like you put the characters in a place where they can't get out easily. And now you got to backtrack and now I got to get rid of half the book because I wrote myself into. You get scared, then you have to do all that work and then it stops you. So I don't believe in writer's block. For me, personally, writer's block is just, again, I know this might get me some hate. Writer's block is usually an excuse writers use to not write or to occupy themselves with busy work. Oh, I'm blocked. But I can do this world building, or I'm blocked. But I can do this character development, or I'm blocked. Or I can do these outlines. What happened to the writing? Because that's what you say you want to do. You want to write. So if you're a writer, write. And so it's a scary thing when you're confronted with a blank page or a blank screen, right? It could be really intimidating. As a beginning writer, having a blank page is intimidating. I don't care who you are. When you start out as a writer and you face that blank page, that blank screen, it's intimidating. The way to get around that sometimes is I'm blocked. And that way you don't have to face that intimidation. But it doesn't go away. The only way it goes away is writing. Even if what you write sucks, and I can guarantee you that the first things you write will suck, just write and you'll get past that block. I know a lot of writers who don't ever believe in writer's block. You know what? One writer gave me a great answer. I don't have time for writer's block. That's a perfect answer because, and Dolly used to tell me that in the beginning when I was starting out, right? And I would write a book, and she's just, okay, so what are you gonna? And I'm already writing the next book. I'm already on the next. I don't have time for writer's block. I don't have time. My characters are harassing me, and then I get new characters like Duskblader, like in the middle of other things harassing me. I don't have time for writer's block. So that's my position about writer's block. But basically, honestly, and seriously answering it is that it's based in fear. This at the core, at the bottom, at the foundation of writer's block is that somewhere there's a fear that needs to be addressed. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you're reworking a story for 7 to 8 years, that's a lot. That's a lot. You know what? How many? Okay, I've only been writing seriously for 12 years. You can put out a lot of stories in that time, right? Is it 12? 2012? 2012. Yeah, 12 years. You can do a lot of stories in 12 years if you really put your mind to it. So if you're reworking a story for 7 to 8 years, it's a lot of time you're investing in one story. So unless it's a world with many, many stories. But even then, oh, here's the other fear. The fear of shipping. So it's never good enough. I'm polishing it. I'm tweaking it. I'm making sure that it's perfect for my readers. That's a fear of it's not good enough. I gotta work on it a little bit more before I release it, before I ship. It's the fear of shipping, of getting it out, that it needs to be perfect first. And no such thing as perfect. Make it great, you know? Yeah, you can do it like that, Aaron, where you're writing, you got one story that kind of is sitting in the back of your head, in the back burner, and you're writing it and kind of working on it and writing it. But in the meantime, she's not waiting. She has written 5 books. Now it's been 7 years, and my pace is not other people's pace. I model myself after Isaac Asimov. I'm trying to catch up to his prolificness. And Asimov would write. The example that I always keep in my head is that Asimov had one story on one typewriter. We're going way back now. And when he would get tired of that story, he had several typewriters throughout the house. So he would have one story in that typewriter. When he would get tired of that story, I didn't know where to go. He would another typewriter where there was another story midway, and he'd start working on that one. He'd get tired of that one, he'd go to another one. Isaac Asimov was a university professor. He had, I don't know how many articles published, like nonfiction, like scientific articles. Man was brilliant, but he was also very prolific as a writer. And one of the things he used to say is he didn't give himself time to have writer's block. So don't give yourself time to have writer's block. If you're an author and you're struggling with writer's block, just write. Get it, just write. I know it sounds trite. I know it sounds simplified, like just write along. If you knew what it meant, what I mean is just get the words down. It starts to flow. Louis L'Amour had a great saying. Inspiration comes when it finds you at work. So, Warriors of the Way is awesome. I like that. That's a story that kind of started off, and I will never go back to that because I still cringe when I read it. But the closest I got to going back to Warriors of the Way was the John Kane series, which I'm currently rewriting. And is one of the next things that's coming up after Saints and Monks. All right, Chris questions. We kind of touched on it, but I want to address them anyway. Where do your characters and their names come from? The names are interesting. Okay. You'll notice that a lot of the names that I have are Japanese because I'm a huge anime fan. I've practiced Japanese martial arts, I want to say at least 3 decades, if not more. I grew up in that kind of world. I have pretty high ranks in both of them in 2 different styles. And the names come from all over the place. I have Japanese names, I have Celtic names, I have Old English names. It's the names come kind of, the names kind of define the character for me. So it's really, like, I'll give you Monty and Simon, for example. First of all, they came with their names. These characters came to me fully formed. So that's the way it is. They're in the ether, and they just come to whoever's receptive. But when I was thinking, Monty came to me with just his last name, Montague. Right? And Silk is the man. Oh, yeah. There's a story behind that name. But Montague came to me with just his last name, the Montague name. And I didn't want to be, okay, they're going to say you're Shakespearean because you created a Montague, you know. And I had to make sure that it was in the public domain because Montague is a very well-known name. And I had to make sure that Shakespeare is public domain, which all Shakespeare work is public domain. Because I need an English-sounding name that would fit with Montague. Like, what would work with Montague? And Tristan came to me right away. It's just like, boom. And then for Simon, I kind of had Simon. Because I want to have this name kind of be a little bit alliterative, like, SS or, and it was Simon Strong. So, that's good. I like that. That works. Okay, boom. We're done. And that took about 10 minutes, those two names like that. Because the concepts and the ideas were already fully formed when they came to me, right? Now for Silk, I needed a character in the Warriors of the Way that was an antagonist. It was basically an anti-hero, right? Because Silk is very much an anti-hero. But his name needed to kind of be weird in the sense of it couldn't be an evil name, but it couldn't be a typical good guy name. And I said, this character needs to be smooth. He needs to be, suave. He needs to be really refined and smooth. And I said, Silk is perfect, but I can't spell it like silk because that's boring, right? So Silk, and that's where it was born, and that name just came like that. Yeah, which is perfect because that's what Peaches calls Tristan, right? The angry man. Right? Peaches refers to Tristan as the angry man because Tristan means having a fiery temper. And if you think about Monty, most of the time he's upset, or he's angry, or he's cranky. It's kind of, that's kind of Monty's thing. He's angry or upset. So, as for what makes a great character, we discussed it earlier. This is Chris's second question. Thank you, Chris and Audrey, for the great questions because you guys are awesome. What makes a great character is resonance. Now, let me explain what that means. When you read a character or see a character, and it resonates with you, like you can see yourself in that character, or I've done things like that. Like I've written a lot of Simon stuff, and I'm like, oh my god, I've done things that were worse, or just as dumb as what Simon's doing right now. Or you can resonate with how the character acts or speaks, or the things that they do and the way they are. That makes a great character because those characters live on past the story. They stay with you. So if I say Han Solo, you know who that is, what it means, and everything related to that character, right? Because it's a character that resonated. Same thing like with Indy, Indiana Jones. Interesting that they're both Harrison Ford acting, right? It's incredible. But there's so many characters out there that resonate with us as readers or as watchers, as viewers, and those characters are the ones that stay with us. Even the characters that you may not resonate with, but can relate to. Like if I say Darth Vader, everyone can relate to that character. I mean, the first time I'll give you a perfect example of this, and it gave me goosebumps. You've seen Rogue One, right? In that hallway scene, when Darth Vader, when you see the red lightsaber turn on, right? Because this is supposedly in the canon, the first time they encountered Darth, right? When you see that red saber turn on in the hallway, and you see all those guys in there with Darth, you go, oh, they're all dead. These are all dead men. He just goes, and he just starts, and he's deflecting fires, and he's deflecting the lasers, and that resonates. It's like, whoa, because it's all a silhouette, and you just see this red beam to the side. Yeah. In terms of Simon, a lot of the things that Simon has done or does is the product of being immature. Understand that he's a 40-year-old adult, but he's immature in the world of magic. So a lot of stuff he's doing is just stumbling through. He's stumbling through the world of magic, and he's making so many mistakes, and he's angering so many people. And he's finally maturing. Like in Saints and Monks, you see he's maturing a bit more, but he's still going to be making mistakes because the world is much broader than he knows or understands yet. And so he'll be making a lot of mistakes, and he'll be pissing off a lot of people, powerful people too. Kenneth, thank you so much for being here today. Have a great weekend. Next time will be, it's the, what's that, the 14th? The 14th, if I'm not mistaken, will be the next one, February 14th. Oh, is that Valentine's Day? Valentine's Day. Yeah. So that's when we'll be here. Okay. I think that's, yeah, we're done. So May I have a number, please, from the 19 people of 19 of you that are here? Only 10. A number from 1 to 7. I would truly appreciate it, and I want to thank you all for being here today. You guys are awesome. I remake my commitment to do the CWWs. Today is just my neck felt kind of funky, and I've been sitting looking in the morning. It was like really funky. I was like, oh, because I usually do them really early in the morning. When I say early in the morning, it's like 4:30, 5 o'clock, because it's right after I train. And so I'm like, oh, I was feeling really like tight, Chris. I was feeling really tight, the neck and shoulder. I'm not gonna mention any names, but yeah, not gonna point any fingers, Chris. All right, let's see what we got. 3, 2, 4, 4, 2, 4, 6.9. Thank you, Anthony, because yeah, sure. Is it looking like 4? I think it's 4. Wait. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 2 more people. 4.2. See what you started, Anthony? And 5 and 5. I think it's 4. 4? Okay. All right. So before we go, Saints and Monks, the art opens on Monday, which is February 3rd. So if you want to shred, Monday. Zilla warned him by pointing out weaponized snark. Yeah, dangerous. You weaponize snark, it gets you hurt. All right, so Saints and Monks, the art, which is the advanced reader team, done. It opens on Monday. They shred it for the week, so by the 7th it'll be done. So hopefully by the late 7th, early 8th, depending on how all the notes come back. So you want to figure late next week, either Friday or next Saturday. Don, I hope that answers your question. Audrey, thank you. Have a great weekend. So everybody have a great weekend. I'm going to put the music now, the closing, number 4. Let's see. Oh, if it lets me, because it can get a little, StreamYard can get a little funky. All right, here we go. And I'm going to take my scary face from here. So have a great weekend. Oh, so before we go, thank you so much, guys, for everything. Have a great weekend. Be safe. Stay warm. 3 B's. Be kind. Be unstoppable. Be uncommon. Have a great, great weekend. Right. Scary face moving. Cute, awesome face entering.